When we purchased our F150 Lightning Lariat earlier this year, we spec'd it with the standard road-going tyres. They are general grabbers, they're designed for road use. They are not the all-terrain tyres, which were an option when we spec'd our truck. But living up here in a slightly higher elevated part of the Oregon West Coast, we decided we wanted to have proper winter tyres on our truck rather than all-terrain tyres that affected our range during the summer and then maybe couldn't quite give us the winter sure-footedness that we wanted. So we reached out to the folks at Nokian and we're testing these. Nokian Hakkapeliitta R5 SUV. Nokian, being a Finnish company, is one of the kings of winter tyre design for electric vehicles, and we run our Chevrolet Bolt EV in the winter with Nokian Hakkapeliitta R3s. They make negligible impact on the range, but they give us sure-footedness. It means you don't have to worry about studded tyres or chains in the winter, and while we don't get a huge amount of snow up here, those tyres really help us get along our rural country roads to our house without any problems. So today we are going to get these Nokian R5 SUVs, which are capable of supporting this truck's massive weight, and then over the next couple of months we'll be putting them through their paces, and then later this winter we will give you our honest review and ask if you should spend the extra money buying a set of tyres like this. Disclaimer, Nokian provided these R5 SUVs to us for review, and these are not particularly cheap tyres. A full set for something like the F150 will cost you anywhere from $1,500 to $2,000 depending on where you buy them and who you have fit them. However, based on my car experience with Nokian, I still believe that these are the best brand for EVs, and I'm eager to see if that is true when you up the scales, add a lot of extra weight, and all of the torque that this puppy can produce. We're going to head off to the tyre shop in a second, but first, I need to get these bad boys into the back of the truck. It's now a few weeks later, and as you can probably see, it's snowing pretty hard. I'm here on Rocky Point Road in Oregon, just outside of Portland, and I'm about 1,000 feet, 1,100 feet up. It goes up to about 1,400 feet on my way across over to Hillsboro, and there's snow, and so this is a great time to talk about why we are installing winter tyres on this pickup truck when we live somewhere that traditionally doesn't get a lot of snow. If you know Portland, Oregon, you'll know that there's probably about 2 major snow events every year or so. However, Portland is surrounded by some pretty high hills, and I live close to the coastal range on the west side of Portland, which is one of the reasons why I'm driving through this pass right now, and they do get significant amounts of snow in the winter, which is why we're in a position here to discuss the winter tyres that Nokian have sent us. These are Nokian Hakkapeliitta R5 SUV. They are designed to be really good in winter weather. They're primarily designed for snow, just as this person in front of me, with big knobbly tyres on. I think this is a great point here. This person is in a Toyota and they have massive knobbly tyres on. Their vehicle is stuck I think they're trying to figure out where they're going to go next and what they're going to do. I'm just going to pull back and give them a little bit more space. Okay, so this is a really good point here. Apparently people are sliding off the road. This is typical for Oregon, right? So there's some issues here with weather, and it looks like people are sliding around and are having issues. And it looks like we have hit some traffic. So I think it's now really apparent, and I didn't plan this, why winter tires are a good thing here in Portland, Oregon. We also get a lot of ice. And one of the challenges is that when you have a lot of ice, it's very difficult to gain traction and get going, which of course, if you live on a hill like this, bit of a pain in the butt. So it looks like we've got some people who have spun out. I'm just gonna use the traction that the F-150 Lightning has, of course. Very good all-wheel drive. It's slightly heavier than your average F-150, and that gives me great traction. That means I shouldn't have any issues getting through this, but it does look like someone here has spun out. Lots of people using their using their trucks poorly. There's an awful lot of people who seem to spin out in conditions like this, who don't seem to understand the importance of using proper winter tires, and that seems to be a big issue. And so now we're just going to try and get through here and see what we can see. So I didn't plan this, but we're going up through the pass right now, and it looks like people are spinning out, people are having issues, people who don't have winter tires are struggling, people in rear-wheel drive vehicles who are not used to this kind of conditions, they're coming off the road, they're spinning out, all these other things are happening. And you will note that a lot of the people going up this mountain right now are in Ford F150s. There was one that just went past me. The guys here are in an F150. That white truck just in front of me spun out. So you know what? I'm just going to take it really steady and use all of the traction available to me and use these nice Nokian Hakkapeliitta R5 SUVs. Now, what makes the R5 SUV a good winter tire is the fact that Nokian is a Finnish company. So they have winter for stupidly large amounts of the year. And that means that they have just the best testing grounds just on their doorstep for large parts of the year. Nokian is probably one of the most expensive tyre brands out there when it comes to winter tyres, and they make a lot of efforts to make sure that their winter tyres are designed for maximum efficiency. That means that they're great for electric vehicles. So they're designed to have both as low a rolling resistance as possible while also having great snow grip potential. I'm going to be driving these Nokian Hakkapeliitta R5 SUVs all through the winter, and I will give you a proper verdict at the end of the winter. But right now, this is the first decent snowfall that we've had that I've been able to test these tyres on. They are studless, and a lot of people think that studless tyres are no good. Studless winter tyres are just some kind of gimmick. But how these tyres work, because they're winter tyres, they have a softer compound than your average all-season or summer tyre, which means they're more malleable in colder temperatures, and they're able to grip the snowpack much more effectively than a summer tyre would. They also have lots of sipes or slits in the surface of the tyre. And the purpose of that is not to necessarily give you incredible grip, but to put a layer of snow on your winter tires, which in turn improves your grip. So instead of you having a tire that's trying to get rid of snow, winter tires like the R5 SUVs are designed specifically to put an extra layer of snow around the tire, which then allows for better traction on packed snow. Not so much on ice. Obviously, any tyre on ice, if it doesn't have studs, is going to struggle to get traction. But on snowpack like this, even though there's only not maybe even half an inch on the road, it really does help improve your snow grip. It's just below freezing, -1 degree Celsius. So what's that? About 29, 30 degrees Fahrenheit, maybe a little bit colder. And I haven't lost traction. So we've covered why I'm getting winter tyres. We've covered why I personally like having winter tyres here in Oregon. Even though Portland doesn't get a lot of snow, I get a little bit more up in the mountains and I have to drive over these mountain passes fairly regularly. We've talked about the theory behind the Nokian Hakkapeliitta R5 SUVs, namely that they kind of grab a layer of snow and keep it around the tyre to improve your grip on heavy snowpack. Now let's talk about the negatives to these tyres as they already exist, as they stand right now, before I've even reviewed them. Number one is price. These are not cheap tyres, especially not for a big pickup truck like the Ford F150 Lightning, which has big wheels. If I was to buy these tyres retail, I'd be looking at between $1,500 and $2,000 for a full set, fitted on my summer wheels. Obviously, if you're going to buy a separate set of wheels to switch your winter and summers off, it's going to cost you more, but you only have to pay for your wheels once, of course. I'm going to have to pay every spring and every winter to switch my tyres out. The next thing is that while these tyres are great on snow and give great traction, like I say, I went past all those people that were having issues. I was fine. But when it comes to wet weather performance, these grip fine on normal wet roads. But if you hit a large body of water, and I do mean the kind of amount of water that would normally cause a car to aquaplane, these have very little grip. And you may want to know why in a place like Oregon, where we get a lot of rain, I made that decision for these as winter tyres. Well, again, if it's torrential rain, I tend to drive very carefully, very gingerly, very slowly. I'm up high, I can see down the road a long way, and so aquaplaning risks for me are less than, say, being able to drive over mountain passes. And that's because a lot of the driving I do is on rural country roads where I'm not driving at stupidly high speeds. The aquaplane risk is more likely to be a problem if you drive on a freeway and, you know, you're driving at 60, 70 miles an hour in heavy rain and suddenly the person in front of you stops. That's the kind of driving I don't do a lot of. And secondly, I would much rather have a good grip on country roads like this that don't always get ploughed, that don't always get salted or treated. And Oregon doesn't salt a lot of its roads. It never has really all that much. And so this is a fairly common experience when we do get snow. A lot of people in the Portland area don't bother with winter tyres. And so that when we do get weather conditions like this, your average person is spinning out and has no idea how to control their vehicle. I followed an F-150 earlier on today on the outward journey, and they were sliding all over the place. They couldn't stop. They weren't traveling faster than me. In fact, they were traveling slower than I was. I had caught them up, but they were sliding all over the road. I had none of those problems. Those who watch this channel regularly will know that I'm a big fan of Nokian winter tires. And ever since I've lived in the US, when we emigrated in 2015, we've used Nokian winter tyres on our electric cars. First on our Nissan Leaf, then on our Chevrolet Bolt. We also had them on the RAV4 EV when we had that for a while. And so I'm very pleased that we have managed to get some winter tyres from Nokian to test out on the F150 Lightning. The R5 SUV is the SUV and pickup variant of the R5 winter tyre, which you can buy for a wide range of wheel sizes, and most electric cars on the market today are either going to be compatible with the R5 or the R5 SUV. The difference between the R5 and the R5 SUV is basically how much weight they can take. So the R5s are designed primarily for your passenger vehicles, but the R5 SUV is designed for heavier vehicles like SUVs, and obviously electric SUVs do tend to tip the scales fairly considerably because they tend to have larger battery packs. Now we have the F-150 Lightning. Obviously, this is going to be our preferred winter vehicle because it's got all-wheel drive, and the Bolt EV that we have does not. Just all-wheel drive and winter tyres is a better choice than two-wheel drive and winter tyres. Although I should note, in our years of ownership of Nokian Hakkapeliittas on our Bolt and our Leaf, we would regularly go past SUVs and pickup trucks that still had all-season tyres on, really poor quality ones that had spun out on the mountain, and we would be just going up the mountain in our little Bolt or our little Leaf and having no issues at all. So good winter tyres really do give you some significant benefits over all season or all weather tyres. They're obviously quite an investment, but the other thing to bear in mind is I like to think of it like an insurance policy to make sure that I am not responsible for having an accident in the winter. So with winter tyres, you're less likely to slip. Obviously, it is down to how you drive, but I'm less likely to slip in winter if I have good quality winter tyres. I am less likely to get into an accident that I have caused because I've got winter tyres with better grip. And so the cost of buying those winter tyres, in my case $1,500 to $2,000, is less than the money that I would have to shell out if I had a couple of accidents during the winter season that turned out to be my fault. Obviously, if someone else hits you, their insurance has to pay for it. But if I cause an accident because I don't have good grip, it only takes a couple of accidents before those tyres make a lot of sense. And on that note, we are done with today's video. If you liked it, you know what to do, and feel free to tip us with a super thanks. The comments are open for your thoughts, as is our Discord chat room, and there are links below. If you want more, subscribe, hit the bell, and follow the links to regularly support us with a YouTube membership or a Patreon subscription. You can also now sign up for our mailing list, and you'll find links to our Ko-fi, Bitcoin, and swag store below. And also check us out on Mastodon. We have our very own server. Scrolling on my right is our list of amazing charged up supporters, and shout outs go to our self-driving tier supporters: Mike Weeder, Patrick Boyarski, Chris Maxwell, Brian Newton, Michael Goad, Bennett Elder, Andrew Martin, Pedro Muir Pinheiro, Brophy Wolf, Chris and Michael Johnson, Taslet and the Gong, Dan Blair, Peter Dillinger, Gordon C, Stephen O'Donoghue, Carl Hodgson, Anthony Coates, Ray Jean Fellows, Denny Hyde, Chris Centaur and Jim Burness. Finally, out of this world thanks to our Starman level supporters: Andrew Glenn, Anonymous Freak, JP Fagerback, Joe Bresney, John Lyons, Rory Litwin, Kevin Barrowbridge, Dave Kitchen, Laura Reynolds, Marcel Ward, Matthew Drobnak, Paul Conway, Reggie Watts, Will Graylin and Ian. I'll be back soon with more videos, as will the rest of the team, but until then, keep evolving.